The message arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning, interrupting the regular cacophony of Earth's radio telescopes with its precise mathematical rhythm. Within hours, every major observatory on the planet had confirmed what humanity had long suspected. We were not alone. The Nexarian Empire's first transmission was elegant in its simplicity, a series of prime numbers followed by a basic greeting in over 1,000 Earth languages. Their massive ship appeared 3 days later, emerging from what their ambassadors would later explain as fold space, positioning itself in high Earth orbit with surgical precision. Ambassador Vextal, their chief diplomat, cut an imposing figure even through the holographic projections used for initial communications. Standing nearly 3 meters tall, with iridescent scales that shifted colors with each movement, the Nexarian represented everything humanity had imagined advanced alien life might be: graceful, sophisticated, and undeniably powerful. "We come seeking peaceful relations," Vextal announced to the United Earth Council, his translated words flowing smoothly through the chambers. The Nexarian Empire spans 3,000 star systems, and we believe Earth would make a valuable addition to our collective. The council chambers erupted in murmurs. Humanity had barely established its first colonies on Mars, and here was an empire offering them the stars. But Council President Maria Chen noticed something in the ambassador's tone, a subtle condescension that set her instincts on edge. "We are honored by your offer," Chen responded carefully. "But Earth is an independent world. We would be interested in diplomatic relations and cultural exchange, but not absorption into your empire." The change in Vextal's demeanor was subtle but unmistakable. His scales shifted from peaceful blues to aggressive reds. "Perhaps I wasn't clear," he said, his translator struggling to maintain the diplomatic tone. "The Nexarian Empire doesn't make offers. We extend opportunities for willing participation before inevitable integration." The threat hung in the air like a thundercloud. Chen's expression remained neutral, but her hands tightened imperceptibly on her podium. "Ambassador, humanity has a long history of responding poorly to ultimatums." "History?" Vextal's laugh echoed through the chamber. "Your species barely has any. We've monitored your development. You've only had powered flight for 2 centuries. Your attempts at space travel are primitive at best. The Empire has warships that could reduce your major cities to ash within hours. Then why haven't you?" The question came from Dr. James Harper, Earth's leading physicist, who had been quietly observing from the side. "Why this diplomatic charade?" Vextal turned, his scales rippling with barely contained irritation. "We prefer willing subjects. They're more productive, more stable. But make no mistake, your cooperation is optional. Your submission is not." The chamber fell silent. Chen exchanged glances with the military representatives present. Humanity had suspected they weren't alone in the universe and had prepared accordingly, but no one had expected such an aggressive first contact. "You have 1 Earth month to prepare your civilization for integration," Vextal announced. "We will return with our integration fleet. Any resistance will be met with overwhelming force." The hologram flickered and vanished, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. As the council erupted into heated discussions, Chen turned to General Sarah Martinez, head of Earth's Combined Defense Forces. "How ready are we, really?" Martinez's smile was grim but confident. "They monitored our public development, Madam President. They haven't seen what we've been working on in the dark. Project Atlas, and others. They think we're primitive because we wanted them to. Every probe they sent, every observation they made, we fed them exactly what we wanted them to see. While they watched our clumsy rockets, we were perfecting gravity manipulation. While they monitored our satellite communications, we were developing quantum entanglement networks." Chen nodded slowly. "They expect spears, and we have missiles hidden behind our backs." "More than that," Harper interjected, stepping forward. "They expect submission because that's all they've known. Every civilization they've encountered has either been too primitive to resist or too advanced to be worth the trouble. We're something they've never seen before, a species that appears primitive but has been quietly preparing for this exact moment. Chen turned to face the council, raising her hands for silence. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of history. Ladies and gentlemen, humanity has 1 month to prepare for war. Not because we want it, but because the Nexarians have never encountered a species that refuses to kneel. Contact our off-world facilities. Activate every sleeper project. And most importantly, maintain the deception. Let them think we're scrambling in panic. As the council chambers emptied, Chen stayed behind, staring at the spot where Vextel's hologram had stood. The Nexarians had made a fundamental mistake. They had confused humanity's relative youth with weakness. They would learn, as so many of humanity's own empires had learned, that sometimes the most dangerous opponent is the one you underestimate. The next month would change the galaxy forever. And when the stories were told, they would speak of the day humanity stopped pretending to be primitive and showed the stars what Earth was truly capable of. Deep beneath the Atacama Desert, in a facility that officially didn't exist, Dr. Sarah Harper watched as her team activated the Atlas core for the first time. The massive spherical chamber hummed with barely contained energy, its walls lined with quantum processors that had taken 15 years to perfect. Power levels stable at 85%, reported Dr. Kai Chen, his fingers dancing across holographic controls. Gravitational field integrity holding. He paused, checking another readout. The Nexarians' observation satellites aren't detecting anything. The dampening field is working perfectly. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. While the alien empire watched Earth's visible preparations, the movement of conventional forces, the construction of basic planetary defenses, humanity's real weapons were being assembled in complete darkness. Begin Phase 2 testing, she ordered. In the center of the chamber, a 2-meter cube of titanium alloy began to float. Slowly at first, then with increasing speed, the cube started to disintegrate, its very atoms being pulled apart and reassembled in precise patterns. Matter reconstruction at 99.99% efficiency. Kai announced, his voice tight with excitement. We can now effectively teleport and reconstruct matter at a quantum level. The Nexarians won't know what hit them. But Atlas was just one piece of humanity's hidden arsenal. Across the planet, and throughout the solar system, other projects were reaching fruition. In underwater bases beneath Europa's ice, quantum-linked communication networks were being finalized, allowing instant, untraceable coordination across vast distances. On Mars' dark side, automated factories were producing swarms of microscopic machines that could eat through alien hull material like acid through paper. General Martinez stood in the Combined Defense Forces' actual headquarters, buried 2 kilometers beneath the Rockies. Around her, holographic displays showed the progress of humanity's preparations. Every hour brought new reports of systems coming online, weapons being deployed, and defenses being strengthened. Status report, she commanded. Colonel Jane Rodriguez stepped forward. Project Atlas is operational. Quantum shield networks are at 90% coverage. The Lazarus protocol is ready for deployment. And our solar-wide sensor network confirms the Nexarians haven't detected any of it. And the bait. Being laid exactly as planned. The Chinese are making a show of moving outdated missile platforms. The Europeans are obviously constructing basic orbital defense stations. The Americans are loudly testing nuclear-powered spacecraft. All primitive technology that the Nexarians will expect. Martinez nodded approvingly. And our real fleet. Rodriguez's grin was fierce. Hidden in the asteroid belt, powered down and waiting. 500 ships, each equipped with Atlas-derived technology. They look like rocks until you get close enough to die. The general turned to another display, this one showing the Nexarian ambassador's ship, still hanging in high orbit. Their arrogance was their weakness. They were so convinced of their superiority that they hadn't bothered to hide their own technological signatures. Earth's scientists had spent the past month analyzing every scrap of data, finding weaknesses that the aliens didn't even know they had. In London's underground war room, President Chen met with the United Earth Council's military committee. The displays around them showed humanity's true readiness status, a far cry from the panicked preparation game they were playing on the surface. The Nexarian integration fleet will arrive in 6 days, she announced. According to our quantum sensors, they're bringing exactly what we predicted: 300 capital ships, support craft, and enough troops to occupy a primitive planet. And our response? Asked the Russian representative. Chen's expression was grim but determined. We give them exactly what they expect. For about 10 minutes. Let them think their worst-case scenario is playing out. Let them think we're trying to fight them with nuclear weapons and kinetic strikes. Let them think they've won. And then we show them why humanity has survived every extinction-level event that's ever threatened us. We show them why we're still here despite our own best efforts to destroy ourselves. We show them that looking primitive isn't the same as being primitive. The next 6 days passed in a blur of final preparations. On the surface, Earth's nations made a show of panicked activity, moving forces, constructing basic defenses, and generally behaving like a primitive civilization facing its doom. Below the surface, in secret bases and hidden facilities, humanity's real weapons were armed and ready. The quantum networks hummed with encrypted communications. The Atlas systems were primed. The hidden fleet waited silently among the asteroids. In the CDF headquarters, General Martinez watched the countdown timer tick away. In less than 24 hours, the Nexarian integration fleet would arrive, expecting to find a primitive world ready for conquest. Instead, they would learn a lesson that would reshape galactic civilization. Never mistake patience for weakness. Never mistake preparation for primitiveness. And never, ever give humanity a reason to stop holding back. As the final hours ticked away, President Chen addressed the hidden bunkers and secret bases across the solar system. Her words were carried instantly through the quantum network, reaching every soldier, scientist, and citizen who knew the truth. Tomorrow, we remind the galaxy why humanity has survived everything this universe has thrown at us. Not because we're stronger or more advanced, but because we never stop preparing, never stop innovating, and never accept ultimatums. The Nexarians think they're coming to show us our place in the galaxy. Instead, we're going to show them theirs. The Nexarian integration fleet emerged from Fold space in a dazzling display of power, 300 ships arranging themselves in perfect attack formation above Earth. Their massive vessels, each one gleaming with advanced technology, cast long shadows over the planet below. Admiral Kexthor stood on his flagship's bridge, watching Earth's primitive defensive preparations with barely concealed amusement. Their crude orbital platforms, hastily assembled missile batteries, and basic energy shields were exactly what he'd expected from a species that had barely mastered spaceflight. Final status report, he commanded. Their defensive grid is operating at maximum capacity. Admiral, his tactical officer reported. They've positioned their strongest weapons around their major population centers. Primitive nuclear devices and kinetic weapons, mostly. Nothing that could penetrate our shields. And their leadership, still refusing to respond to our final demand for surrender. They appear to be attempting to coordinate a resistance. Kexthor's scales rippled with dark amusement. Begin the demonstration. Target their largest orbital platform. Let's show them the futility of resistance. The flagship's main cannon charge, its energy signature bright enough to be seen from the planet's surface. The beam lanced out, straight and true, heading for the orbital defense station that Earth had so obviously struggled to construct. It passed straight through. Sir, the tactical officer's voice cracked with surprise. The station, it's a hologram. Before Kexthor could process this information, space itself seemed to ripple. Where there had been empty void between his ships, there were suddenly hundreds of objects materializing. Ships that appeared to be constructed of pure darkness, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Impossible, he whispered. Their technology level was a lie. Came a human voice over all frequencies, cutting through every encryption as if it didn't exist. General Martinez's tone was cold and precise. Begin Operation Thunderstrike. The void-black human ships moved with impossible speed, their movements defying known physics. They didn't so much fly as redirect space itself around them. The first wave reached the Nexarian fleet before they could even raise their shields. Multiple hull breaches. The tactical officer screamed. They're using some kind of. The hull is just disappearing wherever their weapons hit. The 8-las-powered weapons didn't burn or explode. They simply convinced matter that it should be somewhere else, anywhere else, creating perfect spherical holes through Nexarian ships as if they were made of smoke. Launch fighters, Kex Thor ordered. Full defensive screen. Thousands of Nexarian fighters poured from their carrier ships, forming up to engage the human vessels. They were met by swarms of what looked like silver dust, billions of microscopic machines that had been waiting in the asteroid belt. The nanites swarmed over the fighters, dissolving them into their component atoms in seconds. In the CDF headquarters, General Martinez watched the battle unfold with grim satisfaction. Phase 2, she ordered. Show them why you don't corner a species that spent its entire history preparing for the worst. Across the solar system, hidden quantum transmitters activated. Space itself seemed to hiccup, and suddenly the Nexarian fleet found their ships hundreds of kilometers from their previous positions, their carefully planned formation shattered. What's happening? Kex Thor demanded as his flagship shuddered. How are they doing this? Unknown, sir. Their technology. It's not reading as technology at all. It's like they're rewriting the laws of physics. On Earth, Dr. Harper monitored the 8-las network's performance. Quantum field stability at 100%, she reported, beginning gravitational manipulation. The space around the Nexarian fleet began to twist. Gravity itself became a weapon, crushing some ships while flinging others out into deep space. The aliens' advanced shields, designed to stop energy weapons and kinetic impacts, were useless against forces that came from space itself. Sir, we're losing ships too fast to count. The tactical officer's voice had lost all pretense of calm. Their weapons, they're not just destroying our ships, they're erasing them from existence. Kex Thor watched in horror as another wave of void-black human ships emerged from seemingly nowhere. These ones were smaller, faster, and if possible, even more devastating. They moved through his fleet like sharks through water, each pass leaving more Nexarian ships drifting in pieces. All ships, retreat, he ordered. Emergency fold space jump. Fold space generators aren't responding, came the panicked reply. Something's preventing spatial distortion. In her quantum-shielded office, President Chen watched the battle through real-time holographic displays. They expected primitives with rockets, she commented to her staff. Instead, they found a species that spent the last 50 years preparing for exactly this moment. The battle continued, but it had ceased to be a battle and become an execution. The human ships moved with perfect coordination through their quantum network, each one knowing exactly where it needed to be. The Nexarian fleet, cut off from their advanced faster-than-light communications by human quantum interference, could barely coordinate their increasingly desperate defense. Message from the Nexarian flagship, an aide reported to Martinez. They're requesting terms of surrender. Martinez's smile was cold. Tell them what they told us. Surrender is inevitable, but their cooperation is optional. As the remains of the once proud Nexarian fleet hung broken in Earth's orbit, a final transmission was broadcast to every surviving alien ship. President Chen's voice was calm but carried an edge of steel that made even the proudest Nexarian commander flinch. Let this be a lesson to you, and to any other empire that mistakes our patience for weakness. Humanity doesn't want war. We don't want conquest. But if you force us to fight, we will show you why every predator on our world learned to fear the primitive-looking apes who carried sticks and walked on two legs. News of the Nexarian defeat spread through the galaxy like a quantum shockwave. the greatest military power in known space, humbled in less than a day by a species they had dismissed as primitive. The impact was immediate and far-reaching. In the Nexarian capital, the High Council gathered in emergency session. The holographic displays showed the devastating footage. Their mighty integration fleet reduced to floating debris. Their most advanced technology rendered obsolete by weapons that seemed to defy reality itself. How? Demanded High Counselor Vexnar, his scales shifting through patterns of distress. How did we miss this level of technological advancement? The intelligence director's response was quiet, almost haunted. They hid it. Every probe we sent, every observation we made. They showed us exactly what they wanted us to see. While we watched their crude rockets and primitive satellites, they were building technologies we hadn't even theorized. Meanwhile, Earth was making its own moves. President Chen stood before the United Earth Council, but her words were being broadcast across hundreds of worlds through captured Nexarian communication networks. For too long, the Nexarian Empire has used its technological superiority to bully and subjugate other species, she announced. That ends today. Earth is extending protection to any civilization that wants to break free from Nexarian control. The response was beyond anything they had anticipated. Within hours, liberation movements on dozens of worlds activated. Colonies that had suffered under Nexarian rule for generations suddenly found their oppressors' technology failing, their weapons powerless against modified versions of Earth's Atlas system that had been quietly distributed through hidden quantum networks. General Martinez coordinated the rapidly expanding operation from the CDF headquarters. Status report on the Liberation Front. Colonel Rodriguez's hologram flickered as she reported from the field. 17 systems have already declared independence. The Nexarians can't maintain control without their technological advantage, and that advantage is gone. Their entire military doctrine was based on having superior weapons. They never developed strategies to fight an enemy who could simply ignore those weapons. The Nexarian military was in chaos. Their ship's sensors couldn't detect human vessels until they were literally touching them. Their communications were compromised by quantum interference. Their shields were useless against weapons that manipulated gravity and space itself. But it wasn't just military technology that was changing the galaxy. Dr. Harper and her team had begun sharing some of Earth's primitive innovations with liberated worlds. Simple solutions to complex problems, approaches that the Nexarians had overlooked in their pursuit of ever more advanced technology. The Nexarians built their empire on making other species dependent on their advanced technology. Harper explained to a group of alien scientists, "We're showing them how to be independent again. Sometimes, the most powerful solutions are the simplest ones." In deep space, aboard one of Earth's void-black ships, Admiral Sarah Chen, no relation to the president, watched as another Nexarian battle group surrendered without firing a shot. Their once mighty warships, designed to intimidate through sheer size and power, now seemed clumsy and obsolete compared to Earth's elegant, efficient vessels. "They still don't understand," she commented to her bridge crew. "They think we beat them because we had better technology. They don't realize that technology was just a tool. We won because we never stopped thinking like the underdogs, never stopped planning for the worst, never stopped innovating." The quantum network brought reports from across the galaxy. The Nexarian Empire, built over thousands of years, was unraveling in weeks. Not through violence or conquest, but because Earth had shown the subjugated species another way. In the Nexarian High Council, reality was finally setting in. The humans, Vexnar said slowly, "They're not just defeating us. They're dismantling everything we built, not by destroying it, but by making it irrelevant." A junior counselor, braver or more foolish than the rest, spoke up. Perhaps this is what we deserved. We became so convinced of our superiority that we forgot what made us strong in the first place." The humans never forgot that. President Chen received the Nexarian surrender offer exactly 1 month after their first ultimatum. The terms were simple: immediate withdrawal from all occupied systems, recognition of independence for any world that wanted it, and a commitment to never again use technological superiority as a weapon of oppression. As she prepared to address the galaxy again, Chen reflected on how quickly everything had changed. The Nexarians had thought they were punishing an upstart species. Instead, they had awakened a force that would reshape galactic civilization. "Let them remember," she murmured, reading over her speech one last time, "that humanity didn't rise up because we wanted to rule. We rose up because they left us no choice. And now that we're here, we're going to make sure this never happens again." The galaxy was entering a new age. The age of humanity. No, the age of balance, of innovation tempered by wisdom, of progress driven by need rather than pride. The Nexarians had learned their lesson, but they weren't the only ones watching. Across the stars, other empires took note. The species that looked primitive had changed everything. And they had done it not through superior firepower, but through patience, preparation, and the quiet determination that had kept humanity alive through countless challenges on their home world. The message was clear: underestimate humans at your peril. They might show you their sticks and stones, but hidden behind their backs, they're holding the power to reshape reality itself. 1 year after the Nexarian surrender, Earth hosted the first Galactic Concordat. Representatives from over 500 formerly subjugated species gathered in a massive space station orbiting humanity's homeworld. The station itself was a testament to the new order, built using a combination of human quantum engineering and traditional alien technologies. It represented the bridge between the old and the new. President Chen stood at the central podium, looking out over an assembly that would have been impossible just a year ago. Former Nexarian slave species sat alongside their one-time masters, while independent worlds that had hidden from the Empire now took their places openly in galactic society. "We gather here not to celebrate victory," she began, her words translated simultaneously through the quantum network, "but to ensure that no species ever again faces the choice between submission and extinction. The galaxy is vast enough for all of us, but only if we learn to coexist without domination." In the station's scientific wing, Dr. Harper led an unprecedented collaboration. Scientists from across the galaxy worked together, combining Earth's revolutionary approaches with thousands of years of alien research. The results were transforming life across hundreds of worlds. The quantum shields that once hid our weapons now power atmospheric processors on polluted worlds, she explained to a visiting delegation. The Atlas system that erased Nexarian ships now helps reconstruct planets damaged by centuries of exploitation. We're turning the tools of war into instruments of renewal. The changes weren't just technological. General Martinez, now heading the newly formed Galactic Defense Coalition, had revolutionized how species thought about security and power. "The strongest defense isn't the biggest weapon," she told a class of alien military officers. "It's the ability to adapt, to think differently, to solve problems in ways your opponent never imagined. Humanity didn't win because we were stronger. We won because we never stopped thinking like survivors." The Nexarians, perhaps surprisingly, had adapted best to the new reality. Their empire gone, they had rediscovered something their species had lost in millennia of unchallenged dominance: the drive to innovate, to solve problems rather than simply overpower them. Former Admiral Kexthor, now serving as a liaison between Nexarian and human military forces, watched a joint training exercise with a mixture of humility and amazement. "We thought we were teaching the galaxy about power," he admitted to Martinez. "Instead, your species taught us about strength. There's a difference." In orbit around a formerly enslaved world, Admiral Sarah Chen's void-black ship hung alongside vessels from a dozen species. They weren't there to fight or intimidate, but to protect merchant ships from pirates who had tried to fill the power vacuum left by the Nexarian Empire's fall. Funny how things change, she mused to her now multispecies crew. A year ago, ships like ours were the galaxy's most feared weapons. Now we're peacekeepers, making sure everyone gets a fair chance at this new beginning. But perhaps the most profound changes were cultural. Species that had lived in fear for generations were learning to stand on their own. Worlds that had been isolated were joining a thriving interstellar community. And through it all, humanity played a unique role, not as conquerors or saviors, but as catalysts for change. In her private office aboard the station, President Chen met with representatives from several emerging spacefaring races, species that were just reaching for the stars. "We remember what it was like," she told them, "to look up at the sky and wonder if we were alone, to fear what we might find out there. That's why Earth's policy is different from what the Nexarians did. We don't demand submission. We don't enforce uniformity. We offer partnership, exchange, mutual growth." The quantum network that had coordinated Earth's defense now carried knowledge, culture, and commerce between thousands of worlds. The same technology that had hidden humanity's preparations now helped species protect their independence while staying connected to the larger community. Dr. Harper's team had just announced another breakthrough, a way to make quantum transportation available to any species, regardless of their technological level. Because true civilization, she explained, isn't about who has the most advanced technology. It's about ensuring everyone has access to what they need to thrive. As the Galactic Concordat drew to a close, President Chen made one final address. The quantum network carried her words to every corner of known space, reaching species that had only heard of Earth in legends of the Empire's fall. Let history remember this, not as the moment humanity emerged onto the galactic stage, but as the day we all recognized a fundamental truth. The universe is not a prize to be won or a resource to be dominated. It's a garden to be tended, where every species deserves the chance to grow and flourish in their own way. She paused, looking out at the assembled representatives of a transformed galaxy. The Nexarians thought they were teaching us our place in the cosmos. Instead, they helped us show every species their true potential. We rise not by standing on others, but by lifting each other up. That is humanity's real gift to the galaxy. Not our technology, not our weapons, but the reminder that true strength lies in how we face adversity, how we treat others, and how we choose to use the power we possess. As ships departed the station, carrying delegates back to their home worlds, the quantum network hummed with messages of cooperation and hope. The galaxy had changed forever, not because humanity had defeated an empire, but because they had shown a better way forward. The species that had been dismissed as primitive had not only reshaped galactic civilization, they had redefined what civilization meant, and in doing so, they had ensured that no species would ever again mistake patience for weakness or preparation for primitiveness. The age of empires was over. The age of cooperation had begun. And it all started because one species refused to kneel, refused to submit, and in doing so, taught the galaxy that true power lies not in domination, but in the choice to use strength wisely.